On the morning of the results come out, I got my great news that I had passed. And of course, I told my kids and I told a girlfriend, but I had to run out for work. So I come back 2 hours later, and on my desk at work, this is sitting. Can
Wow.
you see that? She believed I could do it. They believed I could do it. And it was just a confirmation of why it was worth. I was very moved.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. I just forgot the name of my own podcast. And that's because I'm so excited to talk to today's guest because he's really one of my very favorite people. And he has some great news to share with us. Dan, welcome to the show. And what's your news?
Hey, Jackson. Thank you very much. So wonderful to be here. My great news is that I found out last week that I passed the Florida bar after my fourth attempt.
Wow, that is awesome. And I know that it has been an epic journey for you. And we're going to break down that journey and talk about what happened and what you did. But how does it feel on the other side of a pass notice?
It's really such a rewarding feeling. It is a feeling of relief. It's a feeling of accomplishment. It's a feeling like you're going to get a lot of your time back. It's really just an overall feeling. And the people who are at this work very hard on it and are very deserving to enjoy those things.
Yeah, the pass rate for repeat bar takers in Florida this July was only 30%. So you're in a very rare grouping. And as you said, you took the exam 4 times and you came close, right? But never quite getting to the passing score.
That's absolutely right. Yes. The second and third attempts, I was within 4 or 5 points. And when you get those results, it takes a minute for you to convince yourself to go back and try. But of course, there's that sensation in the back of your mind that says, man, if I'm this close, I have to be able to do something to get across the finish line. I was close, but I wasn't there.
Yeah. And you really took to heart our message about doing something different if you wanted a different result. You used a lot of the tools that we offered, like photo reading and mind mapping. But I thought significantly was the fact that you came to the live boot camp that we did before the bar exam. And I want to talk about boot camp because I think it's a significant part of your journey. Am I correct?
You're absolutely correct. Boot camp was a very important part of my passing.
Can you talk a little bit about what made boot camp special for you and helped you get those extra points to pass?
Sure. I think it's especially applicable to repeaters because it's applicable to everybody, but when you're preparing for this exam, it's a long slog, right? It's many weeks of preparation and scheduling your time and these sorts of things. And you can get to a point where it feels like you're in the doldrums. Getting to boot camp provided me a really wonderful opportunity and a reinvigoration of my desire, of my drive to succeed, and feeling like I could make this happen. Then when you're there, you also get this tremendous amount of support. Yeah, I can't say enough about you and your team that you genuinely walk away feeling like I've got a team behind me. And these people aren't just punching the clock and hoping that I do well. They really want me to pass. And so having that belief, that system of belief, having that support is really indescribable. So that really provided that extra invigoration, that extra support, that extra drive to keep going and to wrap it up, to believe in yourself that you can make this happen.
Yeah, and we could see the growth in you even in those 2 days there, that coming in and being, "Gee, I've gotta make this investment. I'm going back at it again. I'm really gonna try and dig in," and then leaving 2 days later, I think we all felt you were gonna pass. It seemed obvious to us at that point that you had really grasped the concepts and you were employing them. You were a photo reader before you came to boot camp. Did boot camp help you with your photo reading?
I would say that I was a photo reading attempter prior to, because yes, I had purchased a program prior to going to boot camp and it just wasn't clicking for me. And then while at camp, yes, I would say that I became a photo reader. And that's part of what you also get at boot camp that I probably should have answered in the last question was that you get this concept and you hear it repeatedly. And I finally convinced myself that you just got to buy in. you have to do it. You've got to try. You've got to believe in the process and work that process. And that's one of the things that why I feel like I actually became a photo reader. Uh, And I started to see the progress. And it's not difficult. It's not insurmountable. You need to believe in it and just do it.
Yeah. And you used photo reading on the bar exam when you got there.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference. It works.
Yeah.
And that's the question people always ask is, does it work? And for you, it worked, right?
Yeah. It absolutely works.
That's great. Yeah. Part of boot camp was also live instruction in writing, particularly for essays in Florida. What was the value of that for you?
It was tremendously valuable, and it's an area that I definitely needed help with. There were several things that I picked up and refined there. Primarily, the writing style that you promote and teach is much more streamlined than I had been trying to do prior to that. I can tell you, for example, that previous attempts at the bar exam, the morning session of day one, the essay session, I would be in that chair for the straight 3 hours and actually basically almost run out of time and not feel like I was answering the essay questions adequately. Thanks to the writing instruction that I received at boot camp, I really drilled down and refined. And I became much more efficient. I became much more organized so that when I approached the essay portion of this exam, I was much more prepared. I was straight up much more prepared. And getting back to that whole feeling of invitation that you get at boot camp, I did every practice essay available to me. The ones at the Florida Bar offers you as practice, which is everyone in the celebration bar review course. I did every single one in that period of time after between boot camp and and so it gave me the kind of the juice to keep going.
Yeah. You worked really hard and we were all very impressed with that. But again, at the end of boot camp, when we sat down as a staff to evaluate, June and Tracy and I all said, Dan's writing really improved. He really got it. He understands what we're talking about here. I think that was a real testimony to your willingness to be open to the process, right? And to
Yeah,
enjoy that. You also made some good friends at boot camp, didn't you?
I sure did. It's and they're fast friends because you're all there. It's a small group, but you're all there with the same goal in mind. They're you're all supportive of one another. I can tell you that everyone in that room, from the people attending boot camp to the people instructing boot camp, they all have the same goal in mind. Yes, you make some great friends, you make some connections that will last forever, and you really feel that sense of camaraderie that you will take with you.
Yeah. We get questions from people who are retaking the exam and we talk about boot camp and they say, well, I don't know, man. I got to travel. I got to take a couple days off work. I got to do this. There's the expense of boot camp. Is it worth it? Should they invest in it?
Uh, I think it's absolutely worth it. And I said this to you before, one of my biggest hurdles personally was guilt. I felt guilt about the time I was spending away from my family and my kids and work and all those sorts of things. But there is also that financial component. And in the grand scheme of things, it is well worth your investment because you have to be able to invest in yourself. And why not give yourself the tools that are available to you and invest in those tools so that you can get beyond this hurdle? Because you can. You can get beyond this hurdle. And again, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was an unreasonable investment at all. And yes, there's some travel involved, but it wasn't all that terrible. And so I think that it was definitely a worthy investment.
Yeah. And you took full advantage of it. And I think that's part of the process that makes such a difference. We see people that come to boot camp pass the bar. We say that all the time. But the other component of it is you have to come to boot camp and do the work, right? You have to be open
Yep.
to it and you have to go through it. You mentioned your family and kind of the guilt that you felt a little bit. Let me flip this for a minute. What was it like telling your family that you had passed the bar last week?
Wow. It was it was amazing. It was a goal that they watched me pursue for years now. Okay. I'm not exactly fresh out of undergraduate school. Okay. Here I am. I've been working in real estate. I was a teacher and I've worked in the real estate industry for over 20 years. I'm in my early 50s and at age basically 49, 50 or whatever it was. And I said, I'm going to go to law school. They were like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. But one of the main reasons I wanted to do it is because I've got two teenage children and I wanted them to see that if you want something, you can go do it. There's no hill you can't climb. You can go do that. And when I was able to tell them that, because they also knew, by the way, that I had taken this test before and not passed it, and they saw the investment and they saw the different sorts of things. They saw me pursue this. They saw me not quit. They saw those sorts of things, and that's what I wanted to pass on to them, so to speak. And they were both really happy for me. They were both really proud. And one of the words that my son used when he responded, he said, "Wow, that's really inspiring." And that was one of my main goals from day one, signing up for school. That was worth it right there.
See, that's incredible, Dan. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly right. I think as parents, we'd much rather inspire our kids and teach them and get them there. And I know passing the bar itself is a big deal in terms of your career and your life, but the life lesson that you give your children seems like an even bigger deal. And that had to be incredibly gratifying to you to hear that comment from him.
Yeah, it was great. I'm very fortunate. I've got a great core of believers in my corner. And even when I wasn't so sure, I had people encouraging me. My significant other, my girlfriend, she always encouraged me. I'm very fortunate to have not just the Celebration Bar Review team believing in me, believing that I could do this and encouraging me to go forward. But I've got a number of people in my life that who have also believed in me and encouraged me to do it because you have doubts. There's just no getting around it. And so I have this absolutely wonderful girlfriend that I've been with for a very long time and who believes in me. And so in the morning as the results come out, the Supreme Court puts out the results right away by number. And I'm pretty sure I know my number. And I think things are looking good, but I wanted to wait till the board of bar examiners posted their results. So by about 11 o'clock in the morning, they finally passed it. And I got my great news that I had passed. And I had, and of course I told my kids and I told my girlfriend but I had to run out for work. So I come back 2 hours later and on my desk at work, this is sitting. And I
Oh,
said, can
wow.
you see that? Can you read
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I can see it. Daniel
The
S.
point
Lang,
is,
attorney at law.
she believed I could do it. She believed that they believed I could do it. And it was just a confirmation of why it was worth.
That's awesome.
I was very moved, never a doubt. And when you have that in your life, that makes you want to keep moving forward.
Yeah. I know that the question that a lot of our audience is going to want to know is how many hours did you study a week going into the exam? You obviously came to boot camp, you learned these new tools, you applied them, but how many hours a week were you studying?
Sure. That was one of the things that I did do differently this time around, slightly differently, was that I actually kept track. I kept a daily log and then a weekly log of the hours that I spent. And my goal was anywhere between, say, 20 and 30 hours per week. Okay. Spread out over 7 days. And some weeks were 20, some weeks were a couple less than 20, some weeks were closer to 30. If I had to take an average, it would probably be somewhere around low 20s. Okay. And that was a manageable amount for me. I worked full time and then some. And I was able to do that and not take that much time away from my family, my other obligations. I'm still involved in a lot of other things. And so I was able to do that. Now that meant getting up early, spending a couple of hours here on certain days. If I had time, spend a little time in the middle of the day, if I had that sort of time, but then also spending a couple of hours at night. And if your goal is 20 hours a week and you've got between 5 and 7 days to do it, it's very manageable. And be methodical. And again, believe in the process and be methodical and practice good time management. It's doable.
It is doable when you're committed to it and you're really passionate about what you're doing. A lot of people would have given up, Dan. They would have just said after four tries, look, it's just not going to happen for me. I'm an older guy, whatever goes on there. How was it that you kept your head in the game and didn't give up?
Well, number one, I like the material. I generally do. I like the material. another part of it is that I am self-competitive, and if I decide that I'm going to accomplish something, I'm going to give it every chance that I have. I'm going to take every swing at it that I can, and I could. So, meaning like I could continue to try, and so that kept me my own inner instinct, kept me going in that regard. And then in addition to that, again, I have some amazing people around me that encourage me, support me, believe in me, and the encouragement you get from yourself and your team. The fact that you can reach out and get an answer on a question basically immediately, that's not something you get in other programs. Those sorts of things keep you going. They give you that encouragement, that strength you need to persevere.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed is that you attended the group coaching calls pretty regularly. You worked with a lot of our coaches, Brianna, Amanda, Tracy, June. What was the value to you of doing that? Because some people would say, well, you know what, I don't want to spend that time, right? I'm not studying the rule against perpetuities or Florida con law or whatever it might be. What was the value of group coaching for you?
It's a tremendous value because you can only listen to so many lectures and do so many practice questions, right? And it's really those group coaching calls, they don't really add up to a tremendous amount of time. Okay. They're very well laid out. You can drop in. You don't have to attend every single one. You can, but I did attend as many as I possibly could. And again, you're in that small group with someone who really has your success at heart and wants to see you succeed and can answer those sorts of questions that you might related to everything from writing to time management to answering multiple choice questions, particular ways. There's all sorts of tools that are available that can be gained in those small group instruction. Look, it's no secret that small group instruction has a higher rate of success. Okay. And when you have these small groups of like minded individuals that have this common goal, it's going to help.
Yeah. Yeah. And it clearly did for you. And you are a great resource within the group. I'm excited that you're on the other side now because I know that as a successful partaker, you have a lot of wisdom to share with people that are going through the process. But we could see that even as you were going through, that your attitude was just so positive and you were just determined to make this happen and that it feeds on other people. We saw it at boot camp, we saw it in the group coaching. I want to talk a little bit about mind mapping. I know you did some mind mapping and you learned a bit about that at boot camp as well. Was that technique for note taking helpful for you?
It is helpful. It's helpful in, I think, several ways, but when you practice mind mapping, what I found helpful was that it basically forced me to take a topic and plot the connections in a way that would connect in my mind because nobody's minds are exactly alike, right? So how I envision it and how you envision it, be it the rule of perpetuities or whatever you want to talk about, they're going to all look different, right? So by taking a topic like that and breaking it down into smaller parts and mapping it out in a way that makes sense to you is really helpful because then that's something that you can go back to and look forward to. And you say, oh, okay, so I remember how this stuff is connected. And it makes it a little bit more sense, makes it a little bit more personable or unique to the user.
I want to just circle back for a minute to something because I know that we see a lot of people that come in and they have been unsuccessful on an exam, whether it's Florida or somewhere else, and they've missed by just a few points, a handful of points like you did. And the tendency is to think, I'll just do more of what I did before. I'll just study harder. I'll do more work. You did more work, but you also changed the paradigm, right? The writing style, the photo reading, the mind mapping, the selective intuition for the multiple choice questions, all of those pieces. As you were doing that, was it scary to make those kinds of changes?
Yes and no. I would tell you that if I can speak about selective intuition, just use that as an example. I was taught on day one, when you're answering an MVE question, a multiple choice question, Florida, whatever, read call the question first, go back up, read the rest of the question, then read the answer choices. Selective intuition does not encourage you to do that. And it does. So that was a little bit scary, but you practice it, you continue to do it, and you're getting the same results or shortly thereafter, and taking less time to do it really saves you. It saves your stamina. It saves it reserves a little bit more brain power. Yeah, those sorts of things. But it was first glance counterintuitive. Learning a new writing style at first glance may be counterintuitive, but you practice it. And I think I mentioned a minute ago, you got to buy in. You got to buy in. It works. Okay. But you got to buy in. And those sorts of things they can be a little bit intimidating, or am I trying something that's going to lead me down the wrong path or whatnot? But a big part of this is also that we discussed at length in boot camp is getting that information that's already in the back of your mind to the front of your mind. Okay. And I do believe in that wholeheartedly. Okay. So you need those sorts of things. It sound a little different at first, perhaps, but you buy in and it'll be there.
You had an 8-point jump in your score, and people might say 8 points, not a lot. It's a lot of points, isn't it? That's a big
It's a lot of
jump.
points. It's a
Yeah.
lot of points. And most importantly, it's enough points.
Yeah.
And,
No,
but yeah, it, it's not nothing. That's for sure. And I don't know how other repeaters, if they typically score similar results. I bet that they do. And yeah, 8 points was significant to me.
yeah, it was very significant. And I just want people to lose sight of the fact that getting scaled points on the bar exam is not easy. And so this was a big jump. And a lot of people would have given up before they got there. A lot of people would not have invested. A lot of people wouldn't be afraid to try new things. And you did all of those things and you got the result. So now as you're sitting on the other side of this, and obviously it's just been a few days, what do you think? You had a chance to stop and just enjoy the view from this side of the ledger?
Yeah. And I don't know that I'm being honest when I tell you that I don't know that it is entirely sunk in, but I enjoy it. I appreciate it. And it's been overwhelming in a lot of ways. And I know there's a lot of people out there, like you pointed out, that the pass rate for repeaters in Florida is 30%. And that's not unusual. And if you look at other jurisdictions, their repeater pass rates are often in that range, right? It's intimidating. Believe me, because I went back and looked after every other attempt at what the repeater mass grade, and it's discouraging. But you're there for a reason. You graduated law school. You're there for a reason. You earned that right to take that exam again, and you can beat it. You're not there by mistake. You can beat it. So do what you need to do. Put your head down and plow through it and work. And don't be afraid to try new techniques. Get that team of people that have your back, and you can do it. You got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the process, and you'll do it. You can do it.
Awesome. Dan, you're an inspiration to our team and to the people that are around you. I know your fellow boot campers were very excited to hear about your news, and obviously we're waiting to hear on their results as well. But we've already got a couple of boot campers that have crossed the finish line here, and that's always a great feeling. I know that you will continue to inspire people and encourage them, just as you've inspired your own children. And I'm so pleased to hear that, because I really do believe that's probably one of the most important things that we do in life. Any other comments or thoughts that you want to share with our audience? Because I just think your story is remarkable and not just inspiring, but really encouraging and wonderful to hear.
Just that, first and foremost, and I've said this to many people that have asked me, like, okay, what did you do different this time? What did you know, whatever. And that I'm so grateful to you and your team at Celebration Bar Review for believing that I could do it. Okay. Because let's be honest, you don't get that in any other program or what, you don't get that sense of encouragement. So I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity. So there's that. But then also, I understand feeling discouraged, and I understand feeling like it's an impossible mountain to climb. But I will tell you again, like I said a minute ago, you deserve that. The people who are out there on the fence about giving it another whack, you deserve to be there. You can do it. And you buy in, give it your best effort, leave it all in the field, and you can do this. And having that support network that Celebration provides is just invaluable. And it's a great feeling, and you'll make friends for life. it really is just a tremendous opportunity that I was provided, and I am eternally grateful for.
Thank you. You are a friend of mine. You are an inspiration to me. I look forward. I know you're going to join us via Zoom on Bootcamp, this upcoming one. I know that that's going to be fun. And I look forward to your participation with our next crop of students. But I really look forward to your legal career. I think that you have demonstrated the capacity to be a really good lawyer. I know you're going to be a good lawyer. And I'm just so proud that we could be part of your journey, but I'm proud of you and I'm pleased for you. And this is just such a wonderful moment to be able to have. I hope that you can bask and enjoy that for a bit, enjoy the thrill of getting through this and sharing that. And I appreciate very much that you shared your story today. I know that it will touch a lot of people. It will help a lot of people move forward. And we're very grateful that you would do that. So thanks for being here today.
It was my pleasure, Jackson. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. And for all of you who are watching, thank you for being with us. We appreciate your time and interest. I hope that we'll get the opportunity to share your stories as well, just as we've done with Dan today. So with that, we're going to sign off and we'll see you again next time. Thanks, everybody.